It's your boy Ty back here with another video, and in this video today, guys, we're going to be going over and ranking our top shooting guards in NBA 2K23 MyTEAM on a tier list. Now, shooting guard position, it's interesting because a lot of the people, especially end games now, get point guard eligibility. So, such as a guy like a Kobe Bryant, a guy like Michael Jordan, those type of guys, mostly are going to be on the point guard tier list. I did put like one of each height on this, so like, for example, I put one of Luka and Jimmy on this list. I also do believe I put one of Kobe and MJ on this list as well. Just because if you do want to run either of those guys or any of those guys at the shooting guard position, I think it's important and valuable to see where I do personally rank them. Now, we do have also a lot of garbage men like Allen Houston on this tier list, and that's where we're going to start off first. Allen Houston is an F tier shooting guard in my team. I don't care who you are. I don't honestly care what your opinion is of Allen Houston. If you got Allen Houston as far as the Season 7 reward, you've got an absolute garbage man that can't play. I don't care who you are, what you believe. That's just the facts. And if you guys don't want the facts, go watch somebody else, okay? Because I'm giving you the straight facts here. Allen Houston, not great in my team. I'm going to do it like this. Glorious AK A tier, Invincible AK I think is B tier. I don't know what it is, but I think the Glorious AK is better than the Invincible AK. I mean, maybe they're the same tier, I guess, maybe. I don't know. I feel like the Kobe upper, I thought it would be smooth. It's really not. I don't like it, okay? And that's just kind of my opinion on it. If you watch my AK-47 gameplay, you're probably going to agree with me as well. So, it's not just me, guys. I tell you guys the facts, and that's kind of where the facts led me to AK being at most the same tier, guys. I'm telling you right now, if you want to run AK, just get the Glorious one. He's a lot cheaper and just as good, if not better. Ausar Thompson, I'm sorry, he's not as good as Andre Kirilenko. I've used both of the cards, and here's the deal. Maybe offensively, Ausar Thompson is better than AK. But on the defensive end of the court, AK is going to be 6'9". He's going to have an incredibly good frame, and that is what does it for me. I do like Ausar Thompson and B tier. I think that's where he belongs, but when it comes down to it, I do not think he's quite as good as a guy like Andre Kirilenko. Brandon Ingram up next, D tier. I mean, he's better than Allen Houston, but he is an absolute garbage man in my team. And I'd never recommend anybody using Allen Houston or Brandon Ingram. Definitely not Allen Houston, but Brandon Ingram too. Not a big fan of him. Brandon Miller up next. I mean, I guess C tier. Some people really like Brandon Miller though. I'm just not one of them. I mean, maybe if your primary goal is to just run to the rim, Brandon Miller can be fine. But when I've used Brandon Miller, I really have not had too much success with him. So that's just kind of my opinion on it. Again, I do know some people who have used Brandon Miller who don't hate him, but that's not me. I really do not rate Brandon Miller very high. Cam Whitmore, I can't sit up here in front of you guys and say I've used a lot of Cam Whitmore because I haven't. I don't even know if I've used Cam Whitmore at all. PJ Washington base, very mid. Trey upper, they think they need to give that to everybody. I don't like what I'm seeing. I'm going to put him at C tier. If he's higher to you, do what you got to do. But for me, C tier. Carmelo Anthony up next. I'm going to put Melo in B tier. Yes, I like AK more. Yes, I think, Melo is that step down. Melo is still really solid, though. I think B tier is where he belongs. Whereas if you're, good with Melo, or let's say you've used Melo for the past month or so, you can still play him in my team. I would not have an issue if you guys had Melo, even in A tier, if you're really good with him. I just struggle a little bit with Carmelo's release. I feel like for me personally, it's pretty inconsistent. And because of that, I think B tier is where he belongs. Chuck Cooper up next. I think he's C tier. And you guys don't have to, again, agree with everything. But I do think Chuck Cooper is a guy you're going to have more success with than Brandon Ingram. I know he's smaller. I know he might not be, have that good of a model player build. But I think from top to bottom, Chuck's movement's good. I personally don't mind his release. Is it, the best release in the game? Probably not. But it is a release I've used and had some success with. I like Chuck Cooper in my team. Chicken Man Dale Ellis up next. I think he's A tier. I think he's better than Melo and Ausar Thompson. I think he is on a level of an AK. Little maybe undersized compared to AK, maybe not as good defensively. But what he lacks on the defensive end of the court, I believe he makes up offensively. Because I love Dale's release. I think even defensively at 6'7", he is just fine. Dale, if you get him as an online reward, is absolutely incredible. Our first S tier card here at the shooting guard position is Danny Granger. You guys can make the case. I'm not going to make it, but you guys can make the case Danny Granger is your favorite or your best shooting guard in my team. Again, that's not a case I'm going to make, but I do believe you can make that case, and I'm not going to argue with it. Granger, 6'9", good frame, smooth release, especially because his upper is really chick on it as well. If you've never used Danny Granger, I do believe if you would go through and use him, he's a card you're going to have a lot of success with in my team. DeMar DeRozan, C tier. I mean, he's fine. I've used DeRozan. His release is chick. It just, to me, the whole thing with DeMar DeRozan is his release is good. Why did they change the Radiant T-Max release so early in my team? I mean, that Radiant T-Max broke the game as much as any other card because I think he was one of the first people to get that KPJ on quick when it just really was not needed this early. Earl Lloyd up next, another C tier card. Put him right in there with Chuck Cooper. Do I think he's the best card in the game? No. Do I think he is a card that you can use and have a lot of fun with? Absolutely. Earl Lloyd C tier, I think, is exactly where he does belong. Elgin Baylor up next. Chicken Man Elgin. He can move. I'm throwing Elgin Baylor in C tier. Is he the best card in the game? No, but 6'5", Trey fade, good movement, good release. Sure, maybe wish he had point guard eligibility, but very similar to the level of like Chuck Cooper, Earl Lloyd. Card you can use and have some success with. Glenn up next. I'm sorry, Glenn's better than Brandon Ingram. Like, I don't know who needs to hear that, but that's just the facts of the situation. Glenn Robinson is a guy you can use, and you're probably going to have a lot more success with him than a guy like B.I. in my team. Trust me, I've used both. Grady up next. I like Grady. Is he B tier or A tier? I think he's B tier. I don't think he's as good as AK. I don't think he's quite as good as Chicken Man Dale Ellis. But I do think Grady, for his value, is a really solid option in my team. 6'8", good frame. And where's the other guy I want to plug in right now that I think is very similar to Grady in my team? It is Rudy, right? Rudy, Grady, it's preference based between them. I don't think either of them are as good as AK. Again, I do think AK defensively gives you a little bit more than both of them. But between Grady, between Rudy, both of those cards are cards you can use. Again, have some quite a bit of success with. And just, I don't even know if they're primary ball handlers, but they're secondary ball handlers that are going to play pretty solid defense for you. Grant Hill up next. I like Grant Hill. The problem is his size up. The normal size up is just not good in my team. And I wish it was, because I do think Grant Hill is a card I would have a lot of fun using. But as an invincible, I think C tier is as high as I can go. Again, the size up being the normal size up. It's just like, what are we doing, my team? Jalen Williams up next. He is undersized, but I don't mind it. If you look at Jalen Williams, compare him to Dale Ellis, there's really, I mean, you could have a preference between the two. They're basically the same level. I'm taking Dale Ellis. He's an inch taller, maybe going to give you a little bit more. But Jalen Williams is underrated. Nobody really talks about him because, again, like, there's nothing really about him to, like, set him above, right? He's not like a budget card, and for an invincible, he's average. Like, he's okay. But again, if you can have, if let's say you're a big Thunder fan, use Jalen Williams. You're probably going to have a lot of fun with the card in general. Jamar Mashburn, I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about here? This card, put him on the same level as Grant Hill. When you look at these two cards, what are they doing? I mean, well, honestly, what are they doing with these invincibles that are rewards? I mean, MPJ base on very quick, like the Seth Curry base is better. He has the, I said normal size, but he's got the pro size, which is just horrible. MPJ base isn't good. I don't know what we're doing with these invincibles. They're both C tier. I'm sorry. I'm not going to hype up average invincibles at this stage of my team. Jaylen Brown up next. I'm sorry, JB. You had a time in my team where you weren't horrible. I mean, you need a new card. I'm just going to tell you guys how I feel. Jaylen Brown, if he wants to improve his spot on this tier list, needs a new card. I got him at D tier. I just don't really see it with JB. Now, if you want to play Jimmy or Luka at that shooting guard position, they're S tier. It's the way I have it, okay? 6'7", good frame, good release. If you're good with end games, I'm sorry. That's just the way I see it. I do like them better at point guard than shooting guard, so, I mean, take that for what it's worth. But I do think endgame Jimmy, endgame Luka, any 6'7" endgame is going to be in S tier. Joe Johnson, you stink. I mean, you're basically where Brandon Ingram is. You aren't as bad as Allen Houston and John Havlicek, but you are not very good. Hondo, F tier, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Hondo, Allen Houston, as far as rewards. we're just horrible. I don't really even need to talk about it anymore. Kawhi Leonard up next. I'm putting him at A tier. Say what you want about Kawhi. I like Kawhi in my team. I do. I like this invincible Kawhi. Again, we just need... It's just sad because even, like, KD obviously got an end game. But with Kawhi, with KD, before their end games, did they ever really have a card that was, like, the best at their respective positions? I don't know, right? I don't know if they did or not. And it is kind of sad that it is what it is. But, I mean, throwing Kawhi at invincible at A tier. I do like the card. Endgame KD S tier. Do I think his movement's as good as a guy, let's say like Luka, like Jimmy, like Paul George? No. But at 6'10", KD, endgame, still S tier. Absolutely elite. If you did grind the spotlights out, you got KD, who is an absolutely incredible player in my team. Out of position, KG up next. I think A tier is where I got to go with him. I mean, height still to this day runs my team. Has a smooth LaMelo base, smooth upper on very quick. I think A tier is where KG belongs. It's crazy after all this time. Chris Middleton stinks, man. I'm sorry. Chris Middleton is F tier. And I want to use Chris Middleton as much as anybody because I really like Chris Middleton in real life, but his card stinks. Clay is not bad. I'm going to put Clay at C tier. I think Clay is honestly underrated in the game. I really do. I think people don't talk about him enough. But if you're a big Warriors fan, you can absolutely use Klay Thompson and have quite a bit of success with him. Kobe Bryant up next. S. He's undersized. I'm going to go... I still think he's S tier. And I'm going to hype up end games. If nobody else does, I'll hype them up. Because if you put your release timing on late or very late, I mean, they just don't miss. And they do everything else on the court. The way I see it is Kobe is 6'6", right? And you might think, oh, 6'6" is really short. It is, but the way I see it is, okay, a lot of people hype up 6'7" cards. Like, a lot of people are using Terry, right? And my thing is, if you're using Terry or you're using, even a T-Mac, those cards aren't that tall anyways. Put Kobe out there as an endgame. You're going to have a lot of success with him. S tier on the shooting guard list. Yes, endgame MJ is S tier as well. Because here's the deal. Run Giannis or Jokic at point guard. Run those guys at shooting guard. You're going to be just fine. Encore Kyle Korver. I mean, he's F tier. He's a bona fide scrub that can't play in my team. Big Bron, wherever Melo is. I'm sorry, LeBron. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Bron. You're B tier. I mean, here's the deal. The Bron that is good is the endgame Bron. This invincible Bron is not it. He has a Korver base. I'm not going to hype up a card with the Kyle Korver base. The Kyle Korver base is one that I have not been a fan of, especially on LeBron James all year long. And it's not going to start now. He's B tier. Luol Deng up next. I mean, at this stage, C tier. He's still 6'9". He's still going to play great defense. But from top to bottom, is he that great anymore? Is he a card that I'm looking at like, wow, he's a great budget baller at this stage? No, he's fine. Just not a card I'm really that high on anymore. He's better than Malik Sealy, who is D tier. I don't know why they hold Malik Sealy so bad. Because what was it? Last year, the year before, we got a really good free Malik Sealy. And I think they were like trying to have us have flashbacks of that this year. But I'm telling you, they did Malik Sealy so wrong in the game. Michael Finley up next. Here's what I'm going to do. Jalen Williams is going up, and so is Michael Finley. Because I can't put, and this is just me in my opinion, I can't put Jalen Williams and Michael Finley on different tiers. I just can't, because they both are really solid options in my team that are both decent with the ball in their hands, right? They can both be primary ball handler options. I think both of them are a little undersized defensively, maybe not going to be great, but I do think they do both belong in that A tier. Mikal Bridges up next. Is D tier wrong? I think Mikal is not great in my team. And again, I wish I could sit up here and be like, yeah, Mikal Bridges is really a really solid option that you guys can use. You're going to have a lot of success with him. But do I really believe that? No, I don't. He's D tier. I do not love Mikal Bridges in my team. Mitch Richmond stinks. F tier. He's horrible in my team. OG Anunoby, he's not great, but at least he can knock down shots and play good defense, right? There's a lot of players that I could talk about today that can't do those things. OG can do those at a very high level. C tier, I do think, is where OG belongs. PG-13, my favorite at the moment shooting guard in my team. He can move, he can defend at 6'9", he can be your primary ball handler. I mean, there's not a better shooting guard, in my opinion, than Paul George right now in my team. Maybe it's preference, maybe it is what it is. I do have him as my overall best shooting guard in my team. Rashard Lewis, you've got to go to S tier. I don't know if I really want you to, but you do deserve it, right? 6'10", can do it all. Crazy part is, Rashard Lewis probably won't be available until the last day of content, right? So let's say 2K does what they have in past years, and the last day of content is the first weekend in August. So I'm just going to give you guys the exact date. Pull in my calendar, okay? So the first weekend of August would be August 4th, would be the Friday. Last year, I think it was August 3rd. That will be the last day of content. And I think that's the day Rashard Lewis is going to be released. Now, depending on when the new season comes out, stuff like that, I guess we'll probably see a Season 9 or probably copy and paste type stuff. Maybe it might even be later, but Rashard Lewis still is really good, and if you get him, he's going to be fantastic. Rudy Tomjanovich up next. C tier is as high as I can go, and I really like Rudy, but he doesn't belong with Melo, Bron, Invincible, or even a Sir Thompson. And I like Rudy. I've used him multiple times, but I think C tier is as high as I can go. Invincible Scottie Pippen, I think he's A tier. I like Scottie over Bron and Melo. I like his release. His movement is fine. He's chicken man in my team. You guys don't have to agree with me. I'm putting Scottie Pippen at A tier. And yes, he was available in a locker code. So free card bias 2. Sign me up. Sean Elliott at this stage C tier. He's better than Malik Sealy, but at this stage, Sean Elliott is not great, is not much. I'd even take Billy Knight over Sean Elliott if that doesn't tell you enough. Shea Battier, I think C tier. Shea Battier is an incredible budget baller, right? I'd even take him over Luol Deng. But when it comes down to it, is he the level of Grady or Rudy? No, he's just not. I mean, it's the way it is. I'm not trying to sit here and slander these cards, but it is the way it is. Steven Jackson up next. I don't hate him. I think I don't like my C tier at all. I don't like my C tier. We're gonna have to move some cards up, okay? Because I don't like my C tier at all. Okay, let's move some cards up that belong up. I don't love you, but you're invincible. Sure, you can go up. I'm gonna move Bron up. Gonna move Melo up. Let's see, Melo goes up. Okay, that's fine. And I think a Sir Thompson goes up. Sure, Grady and Rudy. We'll just make A tier pretty populated. But then I can move some players up with good comfortability. I don't really think anybody belongs to go up though. I mean, Jamal Mashburn, Graham, maybe Battier. I like Battier more than most of the players here. And then I mean, maybe Brandon Miller, I think. Maybe even Cam Whitmore. I think I like this a little bit more. Rudy Tomjanovich, I like a little more. I think I like this a little more. I know A tier is really populated, but these guys are all really talented shooting guards in my team, in my opinion. Steve Smith, I think, is a perfect B tier option. I mean, at this stage, he's no longer that best of the best, but Steve Smith is really solid, deserving of B tier. Terry D, A tier. I can't put Terry D in S tier, although a lot of people would. I still don't love Terry. I think he's undersized. Defensively is not great. He does have that mellow upper. It's really chick in my team. If you've used Terry, you'd probably even have him higher. I mean, it's just the way it is. This Tim Thomas is still A tier. I mean, interdimensional TT, still one of your best shooting guards in my team. Radiant T-Mac, A tier as well. All three of these guys, you could rank them in any order. These cards are all absolutely fantastic. It's that simple. It's that easy. Hero TT, S tier. Invincible TT, S tier. Here's the deal, guys. If I'm making my top 10 shooting guards in my team, Hero Tim Thomas is in there, and so is Invincible T-Mac. Some people are going to argue, okay, well, I like Terry more than Invincible T-Mac, and that's fine. If that's your opinion, put Terry in S tier. But for me, I do think this is a little better in where they do belong. Vince at this stage, B tier. I do think Vince, honestly, is underrated. He's just a little taller version of an Earl Lloyd, but I do like him at B tier as far as an overall card. I really liked him when he did get released. Big Z last, but certainly not least, A tier. If you want to argue Big Z S tier because he is 7'3", again, I'm personally not going to argue it. I do think A tier is where he belongs. He can't really move, can't really groove, but at the end of the day, he is a 7'3" shooting guard. You want to cheese in my team, Big Z is the man with the plan for each and every one of you guys. That's gonna wrap it up for our shooting guard list. We ranked about 53 cards in what? Little over 20-ish minutes, 25 minutes maybe. Who is that too high on, too low on? Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you already do it. As always, man, I love you guys, and have a blessed day.